7 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Shawn. I show up every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and do some type of lecture, and I'm really excited about tonight's lecture. And the lectures are usually around something that is bringing you together in your relationships, in your workplace, with those that you love and care about, even those that you don't like very much, and how to deal with them. That shows up as well. I'm tickled to be here because I can see myself watching me. I just got a haircut. I mean, I'm just so tickled to isn't getting a new haircut the best? So I'm so excited. Got my haircut, and tonight's topic is allowing the feelings of conflicting emotions. And sometimes those emotions are opposites, and actually to normalize it tonight. So I see you guys are showing up. Let's see what you're saying. Hey, hi Christy, I see you guys are in the house. Tonight's lecture, yay. Couple of commercials before we start the lecture. Tonight is about allowing feelings that sometimes are conflicting. You know, a good way to put it is like bittersweet. You've heard of that term, like, oh, that's so bittersweet. Like, sad that someone has passed and it's an anniversary and you remember a beautiful memory. So it's bitter and it's sweet, it's both. So a couple of things. I'm going to shout out to a couple of our partners tonight. Shout out Swati over at the Purple Flower, woohoo! I'll make sure I put a link for anything that I mention or talk about for you, so you can go check out her page. Her page is awesome. And she's a big supporter of Project Forgive. Also want to shout out one of our sponsors, CleanHarvestNutrients.com. Woohoo! Actually, their page is the Joy page. And a couple other things, if you're inspired by our masks, we are going to be, actually don't buy masks yet because we're getting ready to change the pricing for Black Friday. So I know that sounds weird, but don't buy them yet. We'll get the new pricing up in the next week or so, and that's when you want to buy the masks. We have a Daily Joy email. If you're inspired by that, I'll put the link up so you can get our Daily Joys. We also have a Joy is a Habit Facebook group. I love that Facebook group. It's a great group. If that inspires you, we just share joyful messages, because one of our big messages here on Project Forgive is joy is a choice and joy is a habit. And in the midst of all this stuff that's going on, how can we actively activate our brains, the cortex of our brains, where the amygdala part of our brains, where we can go into panic, anxiety, pain, which is all valid, don't get me wrong. And it gets really long, stressful, and exhausting to stay there. So getting in the habit of grabbing onto some joy or finding some joy in your day actually really helps your brain. It really does, neurologically. If you are part of a progressive companies that hires amazing speakers like me to come in, and even on Zoom, I'm doing mostly Zoom now. I haven't really been anywhere. Everything I'm doing is on Zoom. And to have some amazing conversations on mental health, on respect in the workplace, high pressure communication, how to keep folks engaged. We'd love to be that for you. You can put a link up there if you want to find out more about that. All right, so we're talking about bittersweet tonight. I see you guys. Hi, Julie from Australia. Bittersweet. These conflicting emotions that are sometimes opposite. Now, I don't want to confuse this with bipolar, like mood swings. This is not a medical condition. This is a human condition. And it's kind of like when you love something and hate something at the same time, like it hurts so good. Today, I had some work done at the acupuncturist on my wrist. I fell, and it ached when he was working on it. It was finger acupuncture. The guy is brilliant. He's like 70 years old, and he's been doing this for like 50 years, and he's so good at it, and it hurts when he does it. And I have like 80% relief right now. I'm just thrilled. And while he was doing it, it's like, I hate this, and I love this. I hate this, and I love this, because I know I'm going to feel better, okay? Or you like someone and you dislike them at the same time. You know what, what would make it more complicated? Here's a great example. Let's say you see somebody bullying somebody, like bullying a kid, like one kid bullying another kid. It's very distressing. And then you see their parent bully the bully, and you just go, ugh. Seeing the bullying parent bully a child who's also a bully, it just stretches you in ways, because you can see there's many pieces to it. We're very, very complicated people. And it becomes an internal conflict, right? It becomes an internal conflict. Well, let me just, this is why I believe one of the reasons why we got a documentary that's coming out. I'm actually getting ready to go on a road trip on Wednesday to finish it. And we did a little video that went viral, and it was exactly this premise. And how Project Forgive started was we had a friend of ours, his name is Gary Weinstein. His family was killed by a drunk driver. His wife, Judy, and his 2 kids, Sammy and Alex, were killed by a drunk driver. My children babysit those children. Gary, his wife, Judy, was my husband's business coach. And I mean, we adored this family. And we find out that day when they were killed by a drunk driver, all 3 of them, Gary wasn't in the car, that the man who killed them is also a family friend. What a dichotomy, or what conflicting emotions, knowing that Tom Wellinger, who caused a drinking and driving catastrophe that killed a family, that he's also an amazing human being. He's a killer and he's amazing. Lots of conversations to have around that. And how do you forgive that? You lose your whole family. That's how Project Forgive started, was that dichotomous, complicated conversation of forgiveness, right? And so here, let me see what you guys are saying. I see you guys. I see ya. Lots of folks are showing up tonight. It's wonderful to see you. Let's see if anybody's saying something. Can anyone relate to what I'm saying? Let's see. Hi, BJ. Good evening. Hi, Phyllis, Carla, Angie. Yep, new haircut. I know. Let's see. Anybody relating to what I'm saying? Probably the biggest piece for me right now that I'm discovering by doing this documentary, it's called Project Forgive. I expect to have it done very soon. Going on a road trip to get it completed in its writing. One of the things that has stopped me, besides all my family dying, my whole family got cancer, and they all died within the last year. And my mother died, the last one died in January, before COVID. It wasn't COVID, it was cancer related. And I was a caretaker, so I've been very busy for the last 3 years. Very busy, like scary busy. And I had to work out and grieve and be with a lot of dichotomous conversations. And loving my mother and loving her through something, and then at the same time working through abuse issues. I know some people can relate to that. What an interesting conversation. And these past 3 days, I was from the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit Free Film Festival. I was part of a group learning about first-person documentary writing from a gal named Judith. What's Judith's last name? Helfand. The woman is amazing. She did a short documentary for New York Times, an op-ed doc about her and her mother's passing and going through her mother's stuff. Well, I bawled through the whole thing. I will put up a link for you to check that out if that's something that inspires you. And that dichotomy for me is, where do you draw the line between being a child and being an adult? Taking care of your mother, or your mother taking care of you? And this is a high-level conversation. I love that you guys are engaged in it, because it really is a high-level conversation. And the documentary that Judith did touched me so deeply. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm even doing this topic tomorrow night, meaning tonight on Facebook. So, and the other piece too that I've been thinking about a lot. Yep. Yeah, I so get to that, being used to, yep. And sexually assaulted, I get it. Your mom being gone, date rape, I totally get it. Where I've been going in another direction that I didn't expect for me is, I'm very open. I come from a very abusive background, and incest, rageaholicism, alcoholism, lots of shame. And both of my parents were extremely narcissistic. And so looking at the dichotomy of my parents' narcissism and my own, and not like as a beating myself up conversation, but where do I have some of these tendencies? It's been a big conversation for me as I've been writing this documentary. Do I want to do it first person? How do I want to do this documentary? Is it narcissistic to do it first person? What is narcissism? Am I talking too much when I'm talking to my kids? Am I letting them talk more? instead of sharing how great I am or this is what I think about it. It's been an interesting dialogue to look at that. And the reason I love these dichotomies, first of all, is to normalize them. It is so normal to love someone and hate someone at the same time. Just get married. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Like some days you love your partner so much, and some days you just want to kill them, especially when you're together 24/7 during a pandemic, right? Actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about my road trip that I'm about to take. Very safe road trip. I haven't even eaten in a restaurant. I got packing up with Clorox and just be so careful. Like I don't even go within 5 feet of people or 6 feet of people. I really don't. And I'm loving the opportunity to go be by myself, because part of that dichotomy with my husband is who am I and who is he? Am I overtaking care of him? Is he neglecting me? Is he overtaking care of me? Like, to just unpack that a bit. It's an unpacking process. And this is what I do in business. We play in these pendulums. So it's like, here's an example. If you're a leader in business or in the workplace, you know, are you a very serious leader? Are you constantly serious and your face is very intense? And do you forget to play at work? Do you have some fun while you're working with your colleagues or your subordinates or your boss even? And we get stuck in these certain ways of being. And that's why I love a pendulum thing. So the complete opposite of being serious is being really playful. And so being able to swing in a pendulum, okay, I'm being way too serious, so now I gotta just play a little bit. And can you have those kinds of conversations? So that's where I dance as a consultant. So this is my wheelhouse, and I love playing in this conversation because I think it's so important to normalize it. I'm gonna come in 1 second. I wanna say one more thing, and then I'm gonna give you a couple of ideas. This is where procrastination, you know what I mean. Procrastination shows up in when we have conflicting emotions. And you can actually make a decision to not make a decision. Like, I'm conflicted about that. On one hand, it's this, and on the other hand, it's that, and I'm conflicted. So I'm going to decide to reconsider this in a week. I'm going to make the decision to look at this again in a week and see if any feelings around this change. And that could really help ease you in self-forgiveness, like feeling bad that you're not making the decisions that you need to be making, or you're procrastinating or whatever. Let's see what you guys are saying. I see hi Litz, hi Blanca. But there's a lot of things coming through here. Oh, you are so welcome, Michael. I just love you. I love your honey bunny too. Let's see. Tell him I got a haircut, okay? And that I brush my hair. Let's see. Yeah, no, I totally get it, Terry, about the no space during the pandemic. Let's see. Beautiful, Ruth. I love how you're saying that. It is always darkest beneath the candle. You were so spot on. And isn't that candle so important too? We need to look at all sides as growing, evolving, exquisite human beings. And I believe we're like that. Yeah, oh, Lauren, that's so great. Blaming and moving into acceptance and forgiveness. So when I think about dichotomies, Lauren, when you're saying blaming, like, so there's two, for blaming, the dichotomy would be blaming and being responsible. Blaming and being responsible. So that's a dichotomy all on its own. What was an example? I had this morning, my husband said something to me really snarky. I can't remember what he said. And I said out loud, you know, when you say it like that, or like, oh, make sure you don't do that, or whatever, I'm like, you know, you can ask me in another way that I feel honored and respected in the conversation. Because when you use blame, I don't feel loved. And in that conversation, it's like, okay, how does he take responsibility as my partner? Yes, he did. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, it didn't even occur to me like that. Instead of saying, well, you do that, blah, blah, blah. Got it, okay? Acceptance and forgiveness is a little more complicated. And I see acceptance and forgiveness as very similar. I think we all have different definitions of what acceptance is or forgiveness is. And there's truly like 5 stages for forgiveness and feelings, depending upon how deep the transgression is. So, and different researchers and different therapists and different folks will say different things. With all the research that I've been doing on forgiveness, I boiled it down to 5. Dr. Wayne Dyer, if you've ever been a Dr. Wayne Dyer fan, he has an 11-step process for forgiveness. I like the 5 because 5 is easy to grasp. So, and it's a culmination of many pieces of research put together. So different researchers will say different steps or paths to forgiveness, and I like the 5. And the 5 for me are shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace. That would be like an arc for getting to the place of forgiveness. And the thing is, though, it's a nonlinear process, and the ability to allow yourself to feel shocked one day, really ticked off another, and feel some forgiveness and acceptance another day, and then go right back to anger again. And then another day you go through grief. And then you go back to shock again. You know, that's what the process I've been doing with my mother passing. And I'm actually shocked that I miss her. That's shocking to me. Based upon my history, that makes sense, you know? And so forgiveness to me is a process rather than a dichotomy, and has many layers to it. And so we're actually breaking down some of those pieces. So if we looked at shock, anger, grief, acceptance, and peace, let's look at the dichotomies of those. And I'll be sure to type this up and put it in here. So the opposite of shock might be embracing. Like, I'm not shocked, I totally get it. The opposite of anger would be joy. For me, the opposite of anger would be joy. The opposite of grief, maybe that could be joy too. I haven't really thought about it like this. This is a great conversation. Acceptance, the opposite of acceptance is rejecting. The opposite of peace is chaos. That's a really good conversation to be in. I love that we're having this discussion. Thank you for bringing that up, Lauren. I appreciate it. Let's see what you guys are saying. What do you think about that? What are you saying? I'm sorry, I'm just moving this down to see. Let's see. I'm so glad, Terry. I'm so glad the scenarios help. That's why I share the stories, like making my personal universal. I love that phrase. Let's see if there's anything else I need to see before I move on. Hi guys, you're joining Project Forgive. Sorry, I'm moving through. I got a sore wrist, so it's taking me a little bit longer to move. Let's see, comments that I need to address as we're going through. Yeah, as opposed to anger, denial, acceptance, and death. I think I covered that when you were saying that. I'm just catching up with you. Bargaining, yes. Beautiful, and that's a big part of grief as well, right? Yeah. Mary, your question is so fantastic. How do you forgive a mother who allowed the abuse of her children? What a complicated question, and it's something we tackle in little bite-sized pieces. Like, we don't eat the whole elephant, we eat it in bite-sized pieces. Biggest thing for me that helped me the most was therapy and 12-step programs and survivors of incest. That's a big part. And this constant inquiry of how to make the unconscious conscious. Tell you what, though, that's a big key question that's going to be answered in our documentary, because that's my question. And what's evolved from my question, how do you forgive your mother when she allowed abuse to happen? And how does that play out for everyone? If you're trying to forgive a boss where you lost your job, or trying to forgive a deity that you got breast cancer, or trying to forgive politicians for not taking care of you the way that you'd like to be taken care of. How do you forgive family members who don't see politics the way that you do? And how could they not see it the way that you're seeing it? There's so many complications to this conversation. I'm loving that you guys are being here in it. Let's see what else. Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Sean. Yeah, Lauren, it does. It all, like, to me, it always does boil down to grief. And the reason I love grief so much is because grief is one of the most transformative feelings. It's very distinct from suffering. You ever just like suffer and whine and complain? That's not grieving. Even if you're crying and you're so upset. Grief is very transformative, especially when it comes so deep in your chest, so deep in your stomach, so deep, I even want to say in your pubic area, that you can actually feel it to the depths of your soul, a whole body experience of grief. And you can also not be sobbing and still be grieving as well. And grief is so transformative. I always feel like grief is the underpinning of anger, because once you can face the anger and start going underneath anger, that's when all the grief shows up. It takes a lot of courage to feel grief. Love you, Lauren, for sharing this stuff. Oh, great. Yay. Let's see what else. Yep, people are saying me too. All right, so that's the gist of it. I do it in bite-sized pieces, so it's not so complicated, and that we can digest this being such a complicated human being, right? A couple of things I do want to say to give you some advice when you're expressing, like let's say you want to express a dichotomy, or express that you really love something and hate something at the same time, or you're having mixed emotions, you feel angry about it, you're also happy about it. People could say that about politics right now. You're angry about certain things and you're happy that people are involved, or, it's such a mixed bag, right? When you're expressing it, these are not emotions that you want to express via text and email. These are in-person or Zoom or phone conversations, so people can see, because it's complicated. And when you start sharing really complicated feelings, especially dichotomous ones or opposite ones, it can get confusing really fast and you could be misunderstood. And at least when you're talking to someone on the phone, they can verbalize back to you. You have more control and with your intuition to feel how the other person is receiving your message. And you can say things, is that making sense to you? Or, are you really getting this? This is complicated. Tell me what you're hearing here. Like I say that a lot. Tell me what you're hearing here. This is kind of complicated. Yeah, so that's the heart of it tonight, huh? Easy topic. Next week, Sunday, I'll be on the road. I'll be in Florida. And I'm going to talk about needs. Are your needs being met? Are they not being met? How are you using language to get your needs met? What is too needy? What is not needy enough, or like being a lone ranger on your own? So we're going to really address needs next week. Also, too, I love that, Lauren. You're so spot on. Feelings are not facts. They're feelings. You're so spot on. If you have another topic idea, I always read these feeds. I read the comments. Topic that you'd really like to see, I would love to address the topics. You can also message us here. And because I come up every Sunday on a topic, like to take it deep, that actually gives you tangible skills that really make a difference for you in being close. Because the series is called Be Happy, Forgive More. Because the more we have communication, the less understanding, the less we even have to forgive, because we're communicating it in a way so others can hear us. And that's what's so important to me. Yeah, I'll get some sun for you. Sounds good. Couple things. Make sure you visit us. We go live daily for that quick minute of joy to remind us that joy is a habit, and it's to help you cement that habit. Also, if you find this broadcast helpful, please share it. When you share us, you make a big difference for us with our partners in the work that we're doing. We've got a lot of changes with the work that we're doing for Project Forgive that's happening because of COVID. I'll probably be announcing that more in January, how that's being shifted through COVID. And when you share us, you really make a difference for us. Shout out to the Purple Flower. Make sure you go visit. Shout out to Clean Harvest Nutrients and the Joy page for supporting us so exquisitely. Big love. You guys have an amazing night, and I will see you daily for our live noon joy, random joy stuff, and I'll see you next Sunday, okay? Big love. Take care. You're welcome, Angie.